The way that the NFL is arranged right now is that you've got players when they are drafted in the first round, you're allowed to sign them to a 4-year rookie deal. There's a 5th-year team option that comes with all of these deals. When players are done with their 3rd year, a lot of teams are talking about, do we extend the player? Do we let the player go to year? And then after the 5th year, you can actually franchise tag your player, and you can franchise tag your player a second time, which means a player could actually, like Lamar Jackson, could spend 7 years on the team before he becomes a free agent. The team president, Mike Brown of the Cincinnati Bengals, has a team in the playoffs right now. They have a huge game coming up this weekend against the Buffalo Bills. Of course, it's huge. If they win, they go to the AFC Championship with a chance to return to the Super Bowl, beating a team that is supposed to be the best in football, that if they play the way they played against the Dolphins, will not beat the Bengals. When you are in between games in football, when you are in the middle of a playoff run in October in baseball, there's a pretty simple rule when you are running a team. Do not talk about player contract situations. It is a distraction that is not necessary. It's a distraction to the player, it's a distraction to the coaching staff, and it's a distraction then to the team. Why is it that Brown was talking about the Joe Burrow situation? What would be the upside? He was talking about his view of Joe Burrow having a long career, and we want it to be here. His window of winning is going to extend throughout his career. But then he talked about this. And this was in a pre-game interview, might I add, which is insane. Before a game. I did a lot of interviews in my time. Any pre-game interview I did would be about something that was going on off the field. If we had a business problem, if the roof was broken, if we had a situation going on with a player in terms of health or availability. But never would I go on the air, nor would we have our GM or president of baseball ops go on the air to talk about a player's contract situation, ever. So anyway, he said, there is the fact that when you don't have to pay the quarterback an extraordinary amount, that leaves room to pay other players more, and therefore you can keep more players that are good players. He meant 2, but he said that. Joe Burrow's agent and Joe Burrow listened to that. It didn't impact how he played. There's no question about that. But that said, the player hears that. Because what you don't realize is while players don't listen to pregame shows, players have agents and families who listen to pregame shows on Google Alert, and they actually go and tell the player. They tell the player what was said. So was he actually saying that he doesn't want to pay Joe Burrow? Or was he saying that he would pay Joe Burrow but doesn't want to overpay Joe Burrow because then they can't surround him with the type of players who make Joe Burrow a winner? You can't pay Joe Burrow and also pay Chase, can you? Yeah. You can decide what you want to do with your team, allocate your cap accordingly. Or you can decide that you're going to have a mediocre quarterback or keep going with a young quarterback or draft a quarterback every few years and don't ever sign a free agent. All of these are normal decisions, but why now? What causes a team president to talk about this? And the answer, sadly, is fear. You've got a situation where you've got a franchise player and you're concerned that you're not going to be able to keep that franchise player. You want to start having your market. You want to start having your fan base, your sponsors understand there's going to be LAB. There's going to be life after Burrow. It's like the Packers telling you there's going to be life after Rodgers. I don't think they expected Jordan Love to be on the bench for 3 years, but in any case, when you are preparing your fan base for a change in how you are going to run your team, you only need to do that when you're winning. When you are losing, what's the difference? Your fan base and sponsors say, we want you to win. We don't care if you get rid of the best player on the team. Find a different combination. Find a way. Wouldn't that be amazing? But it's not true. Fans and media don't ever want popular players to go away, even when your team loses. How else would you explain the number of people who want to keep players on a team when that team doesn't win 81 games or that team doesn't make the playoffs in the NFL? But man, you got to keep them. But we're not winning. Do you want to win or do you want the player? And when teams are winning, they're fine with whoever it is. When teams are losing, they want to make sure they stay with the popular players. It drives me completely insane. The Cincinnati Bengals are winning games. If Joe Burrow is the reason they're winning games, you're going to find a way to extend Joe Burrow, but you don't need to talk about it. Do you think that you're potentially negotiating with his agent by giving the pregame show talk about the allocation of money? You think agents give a flying rat's pituitary gland about whether or not someone else is getting paid more? Oh, yes, they do. They say we took less money so they can surround us with better players. We got to make sure there's enough money for everybody. It's the biggest crock of all time. James Harden of the Philadelphia 76ers. Yeah, I signed a below market deal because I want to make sure that we can keep everyone and keep the process going to a title. Horse hockey. It's not what James Harden was doing. So, let me give you a wait to see. I'm going to give you a wait to see about Joe Burrow, and I'm going to tell you how the team president could have given you this wait to see by answering the question in a totally different way. The wait to see is when we tell you something's going to happen. If it does, it does. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But we're not going to be like the other shows. We're going to actually revisit when we're wrong. Joe Burrow is going to get extended this offseason. And here's part 2 of the wait to see that if I get wrong, I'm still taking credit for the yes on the wait to see. He's going to get more than Kyler Murray. Guaranteed. The guaranteed portion will be more than Kyler Murray because Joe Burrow is a better quarterback and a winning quarterback, where Kyler Murray is an ego-driven, not winning quarterback. What has he done exactly? So if you know that you are going to offer Joe Burrow an extension, when you get on the radio, to the extent you want to give an interview about this, which you shouldn't, as we said, but if you really have to, I can't imagine why you'd have to. You'd get on, and when asked the question about Joe Burrow, you would say, we are so lucky to have Joe Burrow on this team and want Joe Burrow to be a Bengal for the length of his career, because with Joe Burrow, we believe that we have the best chance to continually compete to win Super Bowls. All of that said, when this season is over, when the time is appropriate, we'll sit down with Joe and his representatives and talk through what our view is and what it looks like to have Joe Burrow as a lifetime Bengal, and we are hopeful that he shares the same view. I'm emphasizing the last part of that sentence because I want my fan base and I want my sponsors to know that if he doesn't sign the extension, it's because of him, not because of me. So I am going to make sure that players are the ones in the spotlight when they turn down money, when they turn down contracts, when they don't want to play for me, for us, for you, for your city, for our city, that it has nothing to do with how we value it or money that we want to spend, even when that's not true. The line, the misdirection, that's all part of the job of what I used to do as team president, which all team presidents do, because we want you to think the way we want you to think. It's total ego.